Hey fam, your boy Debo here. Great new episode here with Jeff Browning, Bronco Billy, all-time legend of the game, 30-time 100-mile race winner over the course of his stunning 26-year career in the sport. We are here as an excuse brought together by Jeff's new partnership being announced today with Keen. After 11 years with his previous sponsor, Jeff now making a big jump over to a new brand, investing in the space. Really fun to talk about that with Jeff. Kind of ironic, 54-year-old dude signing a new high-level partnership with a fun, new, disruptive, emerging brand in the space. Of course, we talk about a lot of stuff in addition to that new partnership, including maintaining hunger to perform as we age. We talk about Jeff's feelings around this current super exciting modern era of the sport. We look ahead towards his competitive objectives at Cocodona, Western States, TDS, a lot of other super fun conversations. Hope you guys enjoy the episode. Big thanks to our sponsors, Osprey and Never Second, who make our efforts possible. Make sure you click the links in the show notes. Go check out what these great brands are doing in the amazing sport of trail running. Enjoy the episode. Love you guys. Peace out. Bronco Billy, welcome back to the Free Trail Podcast, bro. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yes.
Stoked to be back.
Yes. We got a lot to talk about here today. We shouldn't bury the lead here. The news of the day that is coming out of embargo as we speak, or as our audience will be listening to this. You're officially on board with Keen, new title sponsor alongside your friend and fellow legend, Chrissy. Share with the audience how the partnership came to be, and then we'll go into some of the details.
Well, I'm pretty loyal guy. I don't jump ship much, and I don't bounce around. I've had pretty much the same sponsors for over a decade. But my good friend and longtime friend, who was my first team manager at Patagonia in 2006, George Plamerity, has been in the industry forever. First at Patagonia for like 17 years, and then at On Running, and then at Keen came over as the head of run at Keen. He has been my crew chief for like 15 years, and all of some of my biggest wins and biggest races. And he just reached out to me this last fall, and said, "Hey, I was in my off season. I was in the middle of renovating my house and putting in cork floors and building a pocket door wall in my house. I grew up on a farm, so I got some skills.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in the Home Depot parking lot, and I'd been there for like the 30th time in like 5 days. And he called me and said, "Hey, man, what would it take for you to leave Ultra?" And I was like, "Whoa, I gave him a few like ultimatums, of what I wanted. And two of the main ones were I didn't want podium incentives anymore. I just wanted to go run whatever races I wanted to run.
Nice.
And, compensate me. I don't want to have to go chase podium incentives anymore. And, that's what we do as elites. Half your salary is podium incentives.
Yeah.
So you're really chasing stuff sometimes towards the second half of the season, if you want to, meet your cap. So I was just like, that was one. And the other was, I want a seat at the table of innovation, and in the early stage, not phase 3 of footwear development, but, phase 0.
Yeah.
Like when we're talking about a new shoe, like what I want to see 2Ds. I want to see the 3D of the mold, the plastic printout of the 3D of the midsole outsole, things like that. So, he came back, he said, "Well, let me see what I can do." And he came back later and said, "Hey, I think we can do this. And I'm bringing Chrissy Mail over too." And I was like, "What?" Chrissy and I were like teammates at Patagonia forever. She was my first like sponsored team manager at Montreal Patagonia.
Yeah.
And then when it became Montreal Patagonia became the Patagonia team in 2006, like we came over, Shii and Rod Bean were like the first 3 athletes on the team. Like we've known each other. I jokingly call her my little sister, things like that. So I just, I'm stoked because one, I think for me too, another thing that was a big attraction besides like well, the first conversation was send me a pair of shoes and I need to see what you're doing.
Of course.
Like, are you even in the ballpark yet?
Yeah.
This is your first like shoe. I know you've been in the outdoor industry for 22 years, but what's your shoes look like, And they sent me the Seek and I was like, oh, okay. Like, of course I have critiques.
Yeah.
But like, I'm like, you're 90 some percent there.
Yeah.
It's like, wow. Okay. I'm impressed. Okay. We can talk now. And so then that's when the conversation went to the next level. And I was like, okay, I think I can do this. It was really scary for me because I've been with Ultra for 11 years.
Yeah.
I had a really tight relationship with that brand. I'd been with them since they were 4 years old. I felt like they were a little baby when I came on.
Yeah.
They were a big, they're a big adult by the time I left.
Yeah.
And, but it was like, I just wasn't, I was still a tester for them, but I was just like one of the testers, I felt like.
Yeah.
And I was getting to the point where I was like, I want more again, like they were when they were young. I had more say. And, me being a designer, I mean, that's a natural piece of me.
Yeah.
Like to like cut gear up and slice it up and take things off and think about how it can be improved. I'm always like chopping stuff up in my garage.
Yeah.
So
well, cool, man.
Let's go.
Yeah. Well, congratulations first and foremost. And I would love to linger for a bit on both George and Chrissy and maybe take them individually. I had known loosely of your, athlete crew relationship and how impactful George has been in your racing career. But maybe you could just share a little bit about like how that element of personal trust and the friendship and relationship you guys have built over such a long period of time played into making you feel comfortable to make this move and leave a partnership of 11 years.
Well, that was the key piece, was trusting George. You know what I mean? Because of our relationship. Like that conversation wouldn't have happened with anybody else. Like Keen wouldn't even had an opening to talk to me without George there.
Yeah.
And that's what opened the door. But once he opened that door and he started talking to me about like the team they had assembled. I ended up knowing the VP of performance footwear who had come over from like Wolverine Worldwide, who I had worked with a little bit like 12 or 13 years ago on a Patagonia shoe. And he had gone to Merrill, and then he came over to Keen, and I think he'd been at Wolverine and Merrill for like 20 some years. So like he came over, I was like, oh dude, I know Sean, And so then it's like, oh, I know him. And then I know that, the VP or the senior head of sales, right, came from Patagonia. And I was like, oh, I know him too,
Yeah.
I know Mike, so it's like all these people that I really knew and trusted, I knew were hard workers. And I knew they were like later in their career, meaning like they weren't newbies. They were industry veterans that know the gig, dude. Like they know like what needs to be put out. How do we get in this space? How do we show up? And the other thing I think that's important to note, and this, we have been like, we've seen a lot of brands dabble in our space. And kind of like, yeah, they show up for a season or two and then they're gone. They might have a team for a season or two, then they're gone. Then they come back and then they're gone again, And it's like, I've watched them come and go in 26 years. And I feel like one thing that Keen and George really like kind of tried to really reassured me that they're like, no. We've been in outdoor for 22 years. We are in this space. We feel like we should have been in this space earlier, but we just didn't do it. And now we're ready to do it. And we're like fully committed to this.
Yeah.
And I think that was a really cool aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, relationships are everything, and cultivating that trust with George over such a long period of time. Again, that kicked the door wide open to secure a great partnership with the still extremely talented and relevant Bronco. And another relationship I'd love for you to talk about is that with Chrissy Mail. You two occupy a certain stature in the sport, both massively inspirational to me personally, both been incredibly successful in your careers. Share a little bit about how your careers have sort of intertwined over the last couple of decades and how the collision has culminated with this new dual partnership.
I mean, like I said before, I alluded to that we were the first, one of the first athletes on the grassroots Patagonia ultra running team in 2006. fast forward to like the early 2010s, I came over as a contract ambassador for Patagonia trail running, and Chrissy was like instrumental in getting me that position. Like she really went to bat for me. And then that opened up doors for us to do shared projects together because we were on the same team. And so we went to Patagonia in 2014 for a film project called Mile for Mile. It's on my website. You can go check it out. It's still at Patagonia's, I think, YouTube channel. But we did a run through Patagonia National Park, me, her, and Luke Nelson. And I've always jokingly called her my little sister, because we have such a like brother sister relationship. We fully trust each other. I mean, we can talk about there's not very many people you can actually talk about religion and politics to. And she's one of those people, and we might not agree. But we can actually civilly talk about it and hang out and drink tea and dip dark chocolate and peanut butter. And that's one of our habits. And even like we share a Airbnb if we travel for Keene.
Yeah.
Like we've already started that with TRE. It's like, no, let's not get a hotel. You want to just get a 2-bedroom, like the Airbnb, and we get to hang out in the evenings. Like, yeah, let's do that. So cool relationship. She's known my kids, my family. She was in Bend for a couple of years she worked for the Conservation Alliance for a couple of years before she went out as a full-time athlete in like 07 or 08. And so during those times, it's funny. I was the contract designer and branding person and doing all their materials and website for the Conservation Alliance in Bend. They were based in Bend. The executive director back then was one of my best friends, running buddy, and Chrissy came over for a couple of years into Bend. We hung out and ran a lot together. But also a cool, like kind of full circle thing. Keene was a founding member of the Conservation Alliance.
Wow.
Right. So like that whole ethos of us being with Patagonia, who was a founding member, and so was Keene. They both care about that. They care about like that consciously created kind of tagline. And that just, that ethos, for me was really important. And coming back full circle, and all of a sudden, I mean, there was times at TRE, Chrissy and I'd be like grabbing a coffee on the way into the show, and she just look at me and go, "Can you believe we're on the same team again?" Yeah. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. It's crazy. It's just great because our rapport is really good.
Yeah.
She knows to call me out if I'm talking too much, and I respect it.
Yeah.
It's a cool relationship.
Yeah, so cool. And I think very smart from Keene's perspective. All right, so share the religion and politics conversations, Jeff. I'm just kidding, buddy. I'm just kidding. I'm just
going there. Not on this podcast. No, right.
We'll do that next time we're together.
Say that again.
Next time we're together with no microphones around, we'll get into that stuff.
That's one for around the campfire at Cunningham Gulch at Hard Rock.
There you go, buddy. I will see you there. Yeah. So last time you and I saw each other was at TRE, and you and Chrissy were there, and this whole Keene partnership was a bit of a secret at the time. And, this won't be a massive surprise to a lot of people, but it's becoming official here today. Before we got started, you explained kind of what your role is going to be in this partnership versus what Chrissy is. And I know you've touched on it a little bit, but make that explicit for the audience, because I think it's also plays into why the two of you together as a team will help elevate the brand in the sport.
Yeah, I mean, I'm coming over, like I said, for like more footwear and design and innovation and direction. And she's going to be a tester as well. But she's really coming over on like the community side, right? She's been team manager for brands. She's worked at brands. She's helped with that kind of stuff. She's been in on the Conservation Alliance and helping like with events. And she's a race director at Chuck and Nut 50K, has been for 24 years, note half her life. And so, I mean, she got into ultra running like right out of college because of Scott Jurek.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of history she has, right? And so I feel like, and if anybody's listening here and you're newer to ultra running, go look her up. She's the first American to win UTMB. She's won UTMB twice in the early days. She's done a ton of stuff.
First ballot Hall of Famer for sure.
Yes, exactly. And so she's coming over more as like the community driving piece. And I think that's one thing that's really cool about what Keen's doing is they saw, and this is partly because of George's vision as the head of Run. He was like, man, I want to bring over like old school, legit veterans who have been in the space for like almost 3 decades. They know everyone in the industry. You show up at TRE, it's like, hey, ho, I know you,
And
you know, like it's that kind of a relationship. We know everybody, you know? And so that piece I think is really important, but we both have different strengths. And I think we're not only athletes, but we're also like business people. Like she has her own coaching business. She's written a Run Your First Ultra book. You know, it's in Barnes and Noble, man. Like it's like
she's race
like,
director for Cocodona for 20 years.
Yeah, she knows, like, her space, she's an expert in her space.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I'm an expert in my space. Like, I've been working with footwear development for almost 2 decades now.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I've worked with specialty running stores specifically, like helping brand Foot Zone and Bend for 20 years, you know, as a graphic designer and marketing person. So, like, we just both bring our own strengths. And I think that's really says a lot about Keen's vision here.
Yeah. Very cool. And I think very intelligent duo to become the first ever athletes for Keen. And it's great to know their intentions are long-term. And I'm sure you guys will help them accomplish a lot in the space.
And being responsible.
Yeah.
Too, with product. You know, they own 55% of their factories.
Wow.
So they can control quality. They can control how dirty the process is. I mean, one of the things that brought me over too that I really thought was cool, the ethos is like, for example, this is a crazy one, man. They bought a 5 or 6 story downtown warehouse in Portland, about 15 years ago, 16 years ago. Okay. They were in an earlier space before that, but they bought this space. It was like fully thrashed. It was an old warehouse space, had like old 50-gallon drums in it and those big, like, kind of spools that have cables on them, you know, and everything, pallets, and it was full of junk. And the founder of Keen, the owner, came in and said he hired a contractor who now works for the company since that project. But he hired this contractor and said, hey, I'm going to challenge you. Can you take this space and only fill one dumpster? Construction dumpster. One, not one a day, one total. And then reuse and repurpose everything else in it. So when you walk into their headquarters, it's like there's pallet, like love seats made out of pallets. There's some of the tables are the spool tops on a 50-gallon drum.
Yeah.
Right? The tables are taken from reclaimed wood that they built big, like, industrial tables in, like, conference rooms. Like, it's, like, the most sustainably, like, they don't just, like, talk the talk. It's not greenwashed.
Yeah.
Like, they live it. And that ethos carries through the whole brand.
Is that where the retail space is in the Pearl in Portland? Okay, cool. Yeah, it's a great location. So people who visit Portland, they should go check it out. That's a really interesting story and I think speaks to brand philosophy, brand ethos and stuff. But man, congratulations. It's amazing. And I mean, it's kind of ironic, right? Signing a new exciting partnership at 54 years old to become a marquee athlete for a new brand.
I'm trying to show what's possible.
Yes, dude. And I think this is a good transition to just start talking about where you are, man. Like, where are you right now? You're 54, absolute legend of the game. You got nothing you need to prove anymore. But it seems like, you know, you're still hungry. So maybe just start like with what's the current state of your professional running career, where your mindset and physical fitness is at?
I mean, I would say this, like, there's a part of me that, like, I just want to, like, be hungry for certain projects at this point. Like, and that was like the opportunity with Keen was like, go pick your own stuff, dude. Like, here's your travel budget. Use it for whatever you want, right? This is Jeff's personal travel budget for his projects, right? And I think that was really cool of them. But also for me, I just want to, like, I think there's a piece of me that wants to start giving back more in storytelling, kind of talking about the history of this sport. You know me, dude. I love to tell a good story around a campfire. So
religion and politics and stories. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, exactly. Getting clawed in the back of the head by a territorial owl at Cascade Crest or whatever.
Yeah.
So things like that. Like, I want to tell those stories. I want to kind of highlight the old school because, there's a figure out there that like half of the people in our sport right now have come around since COVID.
Yep.
Since 2020. So there's a new breed. Half our athletes that show up at races that are running races are new to the sport. And they're basically learning about our sport from things like your podcast or like influencers on Instagram, right? And so I want to tell like some of these stories that like people like Rock Horton, dude, in my picture behind me, for the listeners, there's a photo behind me that a mentor of mine in the sport, 10-time hard rock finisher, 10 times volunteering and giving back and running the highest aid station on the course at 13-1,
Kroger's Canteen.
Kroger's Canteen. They have to backpack the supplies up over a 3-pitch snowfield, from a base camp. So like that, like, I want to tell about those people. He doesn't even have Instagram.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, those kind of people need to be highlighted in our sport. And so as I get older, as I transition from Jeff, the fast runner, to Jeff, the social runner, because I'm not getting out of the sport, dude. You're going to see me like at 80 trying to finish under the cutoffs, But I want to highlight that stuff. I want to bring that stuff to the forefront. And Keen wants to get behind that. They're there to not market racing. They want to focus on 99% of the athletes.
Yeah. So is your mindset shifting as it pertains to performance? I mean, you mentioned you take the podium incentives out of my contract. That signals that maybe podiums are a little less important to you, but it seems like you're still hungry to compete.
I am. And that I don't see that changing in the next couple of years. Yeah. I still have to do hard work. I have to do a lot of work. I have to do all the little stuff too. Nutrition, mobility, strength, extra volume on the bike, like all of that, I'm finding that as I get older, there's some limits there, right? Like where it's like, yeah, you really probably shouldn't be running 110-mile weeks anymore. Like maybe 90-mile weeks with some biking, and extra strength. Stuff like that, because I just have so much experience in the sport. It's like, well, rely on that. Rely on your your history in the sport versus like, do I need to keep pushing all this volume? And then like being on that razor's edge of injury or overtraining or stuff like that. So training smarter, not harder, as I age and being willing to accept that too.
Yeah.
That like, oh, I can't quite do what maybe I did at 45.
Yeah.
I
wanted to ask you though, I mean, because it seems like you still really love it. And when we see each other at Hard Rock every year, we go up handies together and you're the dude who has the most enthusiasm, right? Are not like a jaded old, mountain slogger at this point who is frustrated about the new generation coming in. And it feels like
inspired by it.
Yeah, good. Well, see, this is my question. Is that inspiration that you have with this new generation, the thing that's connecting you with the ability to continue enjoying it? Like my feeling is that the reason you're still able to perform in the way that you do is because you still enjoy it and because you're still connected with like the fundamental appreciation of the activity itself, not necessarily the accolades and stuff that comes with it. Does that resonate?
Don't get me wrong. The accolades are addictive.
Yeah.
So I do have to come to terms with that, right? Because I can't just keep winning hundreds for the rest of my life, but I am motivated to strategically focus on specific races to perform at. Mm-hmm. And the other ones are more like, hey, I'm going to go jump in like Elephant Mountain for a trainer, Yeah. I might not taper much, and stuff like that as testers and just hanging out with the local community and just having a good time. Right. and a reason to go down to Phoenix in the winter from Flagstaff, for staycation. But like also I think, um, dude, I love the training. I can get out the door. It can be snowing out.
How have you been able to stay in touch with that, Jeff? Because frankly, that it's been harder for me. And actually, right now, Jeff, I'm in better.
Several times.
I'm in better shape right now than I have been in 3-4 years. And my God, dude, I feel so much better as a person, as a dad, as a businessman, because of the fact that I actually have centered my fitness and training again. Whereas for the last few years, I felt like I'd need to sacrifice that in order to be a better dad and business person, when, really the opposite is true. But also it's like, not that, I don't know, like it's easy to lose touch with the joy of the process after many, many years of doing it. How have you been able to stay in touch with that love?
I mean, well, it probably has helped that we've jumped around to different mountain towns in the last decade, because it's just like new place, new scene. That's helped. I do miss the Northwest, and spoiler alert, there may be a move back to the Northwest in the next few years, but just because we have family there, and we got I got in-laws getting older, and we need to probably be up there closer. And my 23-year-old son's moving back in August to Bend. So Mama Bear's not going to be that far behind. Um, but I do think, for me, I love the process. I love the grind, dude. I love to get out in the woods every day. It's my time away from computers. I've worked at a computer since 95. And as a graphic designer for 20 some years, and then the last 10 years as a coach. And I have to have that break from technology and everything, and step away and get in the woods. I've always lived somewhere where I can go on trails really easily, very accessible. So I'm running on dirt in the woods, not pounding pavement. I mean, if I'm pounding pavement, it's less than 2 miles to the trailhead from my front door.
Yep.
So, accessibility has been a big thing for us, over the years, or for me, as that's been a prerequisite wherever we moved. And so I've kept that as like that carrot that hangs out in front of you, that you're chasing. And I do like that process of training. My wife, like, just the other day, I had a little bit of like shoveling snow, tweaked my back a little bit. My SI joint was sore, and I had a tight glute med. And so I was like walking around like an old man, OMI, old man injury. And so I was like, oh, feeling my age, but like 2 days rest, got it needled, foam rolling at home. And then like I was in the gym on the stationary bike, and 2 times in one day, like morning and evening. And like evening, I got a text from my wife while I'm on the trainer, and she's like, I think you have a exercise addiction.
So, well, that's the point, dude, it's like, you're 54, you've done more than anybody in this sport with very few exceptions. And yet you're still doing 2-a-days on a stationary bike when you have an OMI, right? Like most people in that situation who've accomplished the same amount at the same age would be like, all right, screw it. I'm going to lay on the couch for a couple of weeks and let this thing settle down. But you still have this love and this performance mindset that hasn't diminished. And frankly, I admire it.
Well, I think, I would say this. In the last 3 or 4, since I hit my 50s, I have noticed there's times when that like deep, like in a race, that deep, like I'm putting these people down, like isn't quite as strong as it used to be. So like, for example, I just talked to my bodywork guy who's a chiropractor and like physio guy in town, specialized in runners, works with a bunch of elite athletes. He was like ordering me some panels just to check everything, right? And I've already been like, I'm coaching another guy over 50 who's like a really big competitor in his age group at like UTMB events. And we're both very similar in our like, just let's go grind, dude. We're competitive. And but we're both like, hey, we need to be checking our testosterone in our 50s. Like, where is it? But I'm not willing to do anything artificial. I'm not going to do TR, like replacement therapy. So I did, like, after he and I had a chat last week, I ordered my panels because he just got his, and his testosterone had dropped since he was 48. And he's 52. So I was like, but we were talking about like we're competing and we have to do NSF certified stuff. We can't be taking we can't take DHEA, which naturally boosts your testosterone because it's banned by USADA WADA. Like we're going through the whole list. And I said, okay, dude, when we got off, I'm like, I'm going to come back with a full natural plan. Like I'm going to go do research for today. And because this is for you and me. And he was like, dude, I love working with someone who's like my age. And so I went back and I came back with like a full like recommendation of natural supplements that are NSF certified. And they said, okay, all this stuff's going to boost your testosterone naturally. And we got to be on it. We got to like stay on it. You can't like be skipping days and missing days, you know? And so like we developed basically a recommendation. So now I have as a coach, not only for myself and him, but anybody else that's in their 40s and 50s can go, oh, I don't want to take that fake stuff, right? I want to take like the legit stuff that I know I'm not cheating.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm still competing. I don't want to cheat. I'm not a cheater.
Of course.
So like I want to come up with stuff that's natural, that's a natural protocol, right? Because I just had Billy Yang ask me, dude, what are you doing anything? Because and I was like, nope, dude, I'm all natural, but
yeah. Well, I'm sure the protocol is proprietary, but you know, I'm knocking on the door of my 40th birthday next month, Browning. So you may have to send me.
Tell me your recommendation. And if you do, I'll send you this because if you're still racing, you gotta stay on the clean stuff.
Yeah.
Know?
Well, hey, you know what that reminds me of that I wanted to ask you about is last year Killian wrote a really great thing on his website that makes the argument that performance is like an emergent quality of biological health. And whenever I see you, I comment about like, dude, you look so amazing. You look so healthy. And of course, I feel like that's like your biological health is also one of the things that's contributed towards your amazing longevity in the sport. Does that conjure anything for you? Are there things as it relates to what you invest in like just the basics of your health, like independent of performance? Yeah.
I do invest in it, right? I do, you know, I know I've said this before on a bunch of other places, but it's always like kind of a mantra. Like I do all the little stuff that's not running, right? So like mobility, strength work. I'm in the gym 3 days a week. I'm foam rolling. I'm getting my sleep. I'm eating really, I mean, my budget for a family of 5 is $4,000 a month for groceries. So that tells you the quality I'm buying. I take supplements every day. I probably take, like my protocol is like probably 12 to 14 pills a day of just micronutrients. I'm taking like, you know,
is that
like a heart and liver supplement that's NSF certified, right? From Heart and Soil. It's one of the most expensive brands you can buy like real desiccated liver from.
What's the balance between like the supplements you take because you've done panels that show a deficiency versus just stuff that is, you know,
it's all stuff that boosts the immune system, like might infill like nutrient deficiencies in our food supply. So like, you know, we have monoculture and how we make how we grow vegetables, for example. And so that's one crop on a lot of acres, right? And so the soil health isn't as good as it used to be, even for organic. So, you know, because unless they're doing regenerative agriculture, right? And so like, you know, supporting grass-fed beef, like I'm buying local beef and buying a half at a time from a regional producer, like some kind of grass-fed ranch. And then I'm infilling with grass-fed beef from the grocery store, from a good meat department like Whole Foods or Sprouts. You know, I'm buying organic everything. Or if it isn't organic, it's going to be like GM, no certified non-GMO. You know, I minimize grain consumption. I don't do much. Little like good sourdough bread is about it. I stay to kind of a paleo food list, high protein, high animal protein, You know, I'm eating 140 to 180 grams of protein a day. And it keeps me lean. It keeps me like, it doesn't, my energy levels aren't on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
You know, my biggest probably like splurge is coffee.
Yeah.
Like, I like good coffee. My 20-year-old daughter is a barista. We have a machine in our house. Like, she's taught my wife how to be a good barista. So like when we first got here, I got a little breve, a breve cappuccino that my wife made me because my daughter's at work. So
I've got my caffeine here too, Jeff.
So I love good coffee, but I'm even like geeking out on the kind of beans I buy. It's either going to be single origin or it's going to be bulletproof because they test it for mold toxins. Because I don't want like mental, cloudiness. I mean, sometimes my kids have grown up in this, and like my 23-year-old son's like, "You guys are so crazy sometimes." But my wife is right there with me. Yeah, she's my like co-pilot.
Yeah. Well, I just think it's super interesting, like how to maintain biological health over the many, many years, and then the subsequent benefits that has to performance, and I felt like Killian was really able to zero in on something that intuitively feels super correct to me. It actually also reminds me that at TRE, we were talking about alcohol, and I've been actually off the sauce for all of 2026. And I feel like that has also been one of the things that's helped me make progress with my health and fitness. What are your boundaries and routines there?
One, I don't really do much beer. I do like beer, but I will do some NAs occasionally. Some athletic brewing. I do like their amber ale. But I don't do great on wheat.
Yeah.
I've noticed since I cut it out 10 years ago, when I do have it, I get a little bit of like stuffy nose. And so like there's a sensitivity there that I'm like aware of because I've cut it out and then brought it back. So I minimize that. My wife and I kind of generally only go drink one night a week.
Mm-hmm.
Now, occasionally and if that is, we only have, like if we go out, we have 2 drinks. And I'm usually going to have like an NA in between each one because that way I'm like hydrating, extra on top of the alcohol. And then also that way I can continue to like socially drink them with everybody.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not like, having 3 or 4 drinks, and then if we have one at home, it's like 1 drink. It's like a hard kombucha, 6% type of thing. So more clear fermented beverage versus, I don't know, whiskey or something. I mean, I do like a good bourbon, but I don't feel great. I notice I track my HRV every morning, like with the HRV for training app that Marco Altini puts out, right? He's like the premier researcher on HRV. I use his app on my phone and sit up in bed, take it first thing in the morning. I've been doing that for 2 years. And that's the one thing I did notice, and that made me actually like kind of back off on drinking, was that it affected my HRV, which then is affecting your recovery. And when you're 54, you need all the help you can get.
Yeah, of course. Well, it's good to know that you still allow yourself the occasional vice, even if your health is just remarkable now in your
dark chocolate's another one,
that doesn't count.
Dark chocolate.
That doesn't count. Coffee doesn't even count. Alcohol counts as a vice. Osprey just redesigned their iconic Duro and Dyna running vests, new for 2026, making them lighter, softer, and more stable than ever. Introducing the Duro and Dyna Pro Series from Osprey with new stretch mesh fabrics, improved fit systems, and repatterned flask pockets. These vests are built to move with you, not against you. The new Duro and Dyna Pro Series takes a great product and makes them even better, featuring integrated pole carry options, smart pocketing, and bounce-free hydration with dual half-liter soft flasks. You can stay fast, organized, and focused on the flow state of your trail run, always setting the standard in the category, of course. Osprey made a pack specifically for women. The Dyna Pro was developed with feedback from people like Rachel Drake and Leah Yingling, accommodating the needs of female trail runners based on their unique fit requirements, always pushing things forward and doing the right thing. Check out the latest Duro and Dyna Pro Series from Osprey, available now, and run with confidence. Osprey, carry what moves you. Check it out, osprey.com. If you've spent enough time in endurance sport in recent years, you know the truth. Consistent training is, of course, the key, but fueling that consistent training can decide everything. Never Second was built around a simple idea. Performance nutrition should be precise, science-backed, and easy to execute on the fly when it matters most. No guesses, no gimmicks, just real science, real ingredients, and real results. Speaking of results, the proof has been on the race course, where Never Second athletes have, of course, been dominant. In fact, there were 4 Never Second athletes in the top 4 of Trail Runner of the Year: Jim Walmsley, Katie Scheid, Ruth Croft, and Abby Hall. Good enough for them, good enough for me as I attempt to make my own comeback for real this time. Wish me luck. A steady diet of C30 gels, bars, and drink mix, plus the P30 protein recovery mix. Your boy is back on the horse for real. Go grab some for yourself. Fuel like the great champions of our sport. Visit never2.com. Use code FREETRAIL25 for 25% off your first order. Never2.com. Use code FREETRAIL25. Another thing I wanted you to share at TRE, you made the comment to me that the Colorado Trail just like really left an impact on you. Can you describe what you meant by that?
Well, if I was a cat with 9 lives, I feel like I burned 5 of them.
Really?
Yeah, that was just like, it takes you to the well and beyond. I think it's just like, 177 hours with only like 12 to 14 hours of sleep somewhere in there, peppered in there, and like 15 to 30-minute naps, a couple of 90s, maybe one other 2.5, 3 hour when I almost dropped at Cottonwood Pass. It just was like more than I bargained for. You know what I mean? Like I didn't really respect like the aftermath, after it. Like, I feel like this last season I was like plagued with like tendinitis and like all kinds of weird kind of like stuff that was like, I felt like it's because I didn't really take time off after the Colorado Trail. Like, I got back, I biked a while, and then I kind of got back on it. I didn't fully rest. And I think I should have just like laid on the sofa for like a month.
Yeah.
And just slept and ate, and gained like 10 pounds back and then lost it later in training. Like, I should have signaled to the body, hey, dude, you can chill. You need to repair everything.
Yeah.
Because I think it went more like into the endocrine system, and the metabolic system at a deeper level that I didn't really respect. And it also showed me that like, I'm not the most multi-day I want is 3 days, 2 nights.
Cocodona. We'll talk about that later. But you do feel like you're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. What, it's been a year and a half since you finished the Colorado Trail?
I took a month off and biked in September, and I feel like since then things have been better.
Yeah. Cool.
I'm like, the drive is back, and like the tendinitis issues are kind of like dissipated. I mean, I am dealing with like little tendon things on my ankle because I rolled an ankle at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And anytime you've had a rolled ankles, like that's one of your tendencies too, right?
Yeah.
You're more a 4-foot striker. Like,
those are the only 2 injuries I've ever had. I blew both my ankles. Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes everything weak, and you have to rebuild.
Yeah.
Right, with strength, and you can't just let it heal. You have to do the work, band work, and like, extra work in the gym or PT and rehab. And then you got to do prehab for another like 6-8 months, before it's like normal again. And so like those have been, and I've, 26 years in ultra running, I've rolled my ankle on both sides multiple times.
Yeah.
So easy when you're training 3,000 miles a year on trail to just like take your focus off for a second and be like, doink,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear you're bouncing back from the Colorado Trail. I just think it's interesting, especially with the level the sport's getting to now and Kyle Curtin's record there. I mean, you do have to thread an amazing needle to break a record of that quality at this point. And so that comes with a cost, right? It comes with consequences. And I think you felt it yourself after successfully completing it yourself.
Yeah, I definitely felt mortal.
Yeah. I heard you needle me on Cam Haines' podcast. Ryan's going to pull up a fun little clip here. We won't be able to hear it, but effectively you were saying like, Dylan's always like encouraging people to get along in the sport. And, I kind of feel like trash talk is good. So maybe conflict is healthy to a certain degree. Say more about what you meant there on Cam's podcast while you were savaging me.
I grew up in an era. I mean, I'm old, dude. I grew up in and so is Cam. Cam and I are only 4 years apart.
Yeah.
I think we grew up in a time of like trash talking, like everything. Sports was trash talking. Like your buddies, you were trash talking.
Yeah.
Like you would call them out. And then if they called you out, you had to show them, man. You had to like rise to the occasion. Like you had to be like, put it back in their face, And so I think that kind of stuff is good in measured doses. I think it's really good to be able to like call people out on their BS, and have, so to speak, have the balls to do it. Right. And I think that sometimes in this more like everyone's tiptoeing around and getting like offended about everything that's said. And you can't say this because that'll offend these people. And you can't say that because it's just like everybody grow some thick skin, man. Like, just don't worry about it. Like, everybody just enjoy each other, and the trash talking's part of it. It's fun.
Yeah.
Like, don't get offended by it, right? Just like rise to the occasion if they call you on it.
I loved what you said too. It was something to the effect of, you said to Killian Korth, like, you better be ready to bring it, buddy. Like, I'm not taking it easy on you in Cocodona.
Yeah, like I mean, I think one of my favorite quotes from a runner is Steve Prefontaine's. Like, there might be some guys out there that can beat me, but they're going to have to bleed to do it.
They're going to have to bleed. Love that. Love that. Hanging with Cam, I mean, it feels like you guys share sort of a similar small town, blue collar work ethic, appreciation for the simple things in life. Is there anything about his career, the things he's done or his process that rubbed off on you?
Yeah, like his work ethic is like off the hook. Like, you can talk trash about Cam all day, but he's going to work circles around people half his age.
Yeah.
He knows how to work and put in the work. And like, he lives the keep hammering ethos. Yeah. And I love that. Now, I would say mine is similar in Giddy Up, right? It's like, but mine's more like, let's do it not to just suffer, but let's have joy doing it, right? So I really was inspired by like what he's built in his space, right? Mm-hmm. Like that bow hunting, using ultra running and strength training and mobility to make him a better bow hunter. Mm-hmm. And it's such a cool niche he's built. And it was just really inspiring to see how he did it, see kind of that, like pull back the curtain, so to speak. He was very transparent and very honest and open behind the scenes. One thing that really stuck out to me too, I think that, the whole time I was there for 12 hours, we spent 12 hours together. He never picked up his phone.
Wow.
That was inspiring to me too. I noticed it.
Cause he is, fairly prolific on social media and stuff.
But he's got people helping him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's built a brand big enough now that he's got people like to help with content curation.
Yeah.
Even though it's his voice, and a lot of the stuff he's coming up with it, but they're helping him get it out. So he doesn't have to sit there and be like, should I say it this way or that way? You know what I mean? Like, I'm still doing that. Like, should I say it that way or this way? Because I'm curating my own content. And I know he did his own content. He still does his own content, but he has help.
Yeah.
Right? Like full-time help. And that just, for me, that was inspiring to see like, oh, like
He's present. He's present with you. He's present with you.
He was present, and it also was inspiring to see like, oh, I want to build my, like, if, I've always been an entrepreneur, and it's like, oh, my coaching brand and my athlete brand, maybe I need to think about some other aspects that I haven't. I need to think bigger, type of thing. That was really inspiring to me.
Wow. Maybe we can come back and talk about that. But it makes me also want to come back to what you said earlier, and that you're inspired about this new generation. How are you feeling about the sport in the modern era?
Dude, I was just hanging out Black Canyon.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Sick.
It's so insane. The part of me, the health part of me looks at this and being like, dude, they are going to the well.
See, that's what I worry about too. I mean, especially as it relates to these backyard events. I'm like, somebody is going to literally drop dead at these races at some point.
Yeah. So the amount the front is pushing is kind of next level. And we see that in Western States even, right? Like the first 100Ks, it's not the speed in the last 60K that's actually improving. It's the first 100K and then trying to hold it. Right? It's like throwing a bunch of spitballs against the wall and only like 6 of them stick out of 30, So that aspect is crazy, being that engaged, having to run that fast, which means you have to do a ton of speed work, right? And harder, faster work to show up and be able to hold those kind of paces now. Just to see like on trail, even in the 50K, which is like used to be just this like low key JV event, right? Now it's like a main event too, like with like Peterman, Seth, and Ruling, and what's the other guy's name?
Cade Michael was third.
Yeah, Cade. Like those 3 ran the first mile in 5:18. Like that is mind blowing to me on trail. Even though it's runnable in that first mile, it's still a 5:18 in a 50K.
Yeah, like in our day, we wouldn't even warm up before a 50K, right? These guys are like doing their full warm up, getting the activation drills in, and then clipping off a 5:18 first mile. It's a whole new game.
And their thought process, I listened to Seth's interview, and I was just like, his thought process was like, yeah, 5:18 is a little hot. A little hot? Like, that was his assessment, was a little hot? It's almost for me as an old school dude, it's almost hard to fathom like where the sport is going. And I think the other thing we're going to see, this remains to be seen, but like the careers are going to be a lot shorter because of how intense these the AA races, the big races are.
Is that because you have to go so deep to the well that you can only do that so many times in your career?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Unless it becomes so pro, where we get to the point where we're on that path where it gets so pro that you're making 6 figures and you can afford to have a nutritionist on staff and a masseuse on staff and like that kind of stuff. Like then maybe we could extend some careers, but there's a lot of dirt bagging still going on, and eating like cheap crap food, and not really paying attention to nutrition. I think if you want longevity in the sport, you're basically leaching from your metabolic system and your system if you're not eating really well.
Yeah.
Even though you're bouncing back because you're young, right?
I've never heard anybody vocalize that, but it does feel in some part true that with this rapid advancement in the sport and the effort that is now being expended on these race courses. I mean, even with the improvement in nutrition science and equipment, carbon plates, cooling, etc., that you do only have so many times that you can blow yourself up like that.
Well, I got to give you like an old school analogy. So when I was at Western States in that 4-year run of being in the top 10 from 16 to 19.
Yeah.
I remember at one point, David Horton was there. Dr. David Horton, right? Old school.
First ever Barkley Marathon finisher.
Yeah. He said something like, before the race, and this was maybe a couple years in, so I'd done it a couple of times. He was like, race starts at the river. Or someone else said maybe Forest Hill. And I was just like, you guys don't even know. Like, it's more like in the canyons is where the race really starts. And now the race starts from the start. Like, it became it is in the evolution when I was there, and it's gone to another level. I mean, even to understand from 16, like I ran a 16:30 in 2016 for third.
Yeah.
In 2019, I ran a 15:55 for ninth. In 4 years, that was the evolution, and it's just increased.
Yeah. And what? That was between your 45th and 49th birthday or something like that?
44th and 48th.
So you were running sub 16 at 48 for ninth place. My God. It is just so exciting, man. And, like I said, you were one of my major inspirations when I found this sport 17 years ago. And the fact that we're both within it and do have that perspective now, it really is remarkable to see where we are right now. And that
It is. I still I just shake my head sometimes.
Yeah. And it's just like, as soon as you feel like we're going to hit some semblance of a ceiling, you have Jen Lichter blow straight through it and set a new course record by 19 minutes.
Yeah. And you have 2 women go sub 8, right? At Black Canyon. Like, you're just like, what?
Yeah.
Like, they're not that far behind the dudes.
All right. Well, you're still shredding too. So let's pivot and talk about more what you've got going on. Ryan's going to pull up a little flyover here from your recent third place finish at the Elephant Mountain 50 in Arizona behind Michael Versteeg and Kyle Curtin. Tell me about this race while Ryan sort of shows your Strava file.
Well, I made those guys go out slow. I took the lead and held the pace back for the first 10.
Yeah.
But then we had a good time. We were just catching up, chatting, as a group of us talking. It was pretty casual. And then starting into the Elephant Mountain Loop, which is pretty technical, Kyle tried to bring chaos. So he took off, right? And there was one guy who was in front of us, and we were second, third. Versteeg was behind us. And then Mike showed back up at the mid part of that loop. There's an aid station, and he and I ran together, and I coached Michael. So he was I could just tell he was chatty. He was in a good mood. I was like, dude, this is he's having a good day. Yeah. And I was feeling it. And I also had messed around with carrying a little less calories that day. I went a little lighter than I should have, on my carbs per hour. And I was definitely struggling to keep my RPE was high for my pace, because I was behind. And I hadn't put anything in drop bags. I was just going off drop bags. I didn't want my wife to have to drive all over creation. I just ran off drop bags. And so, and my son was running the 6K. So she was managing him, my 14-year-old. So we ended up just going off drop bags, but I didn't put emergency gels in, and I should have, because I was feeling it. And so by the time we hit halfway, the 3 of us were together. And then Kyle gapped me maybe by 100 yards. And Mike caught up to me, and he's just chitty chatting right on my heels. And I could tell he was just having a smooth day. And he just jumped in front of me, just easily surged up to Kyle, talked to him. And then Kyle you go down in this, it's super technical and kind of really it only really gets backpacked, that loop. And some of them are down in washes in the desert. You drop down in these washes, and there's all this grass, tall grass. You're kind of bushwhacking. And I guess Kyle took a little 3 or 4 step wrong turn, and Mike took the lead, and then Mike just took off.
Yeah.
And Kyle chased him, but those guys just put time on me from that point forward. And I was just I knew I had a pretty good lead on 4th.
Yeah.
And so I was just when I got to the aid station off that loop, I asked him when those guys come through, and they're 15 minutes ago. I was I'm just on at 3rd, man.
Dude, it's funny. I'll read the description from your Strava real quick. And again, you describe it as a training run. So you said fun trader with Versteeg and Kyle Curtin. We were pretty much together for the first half until they took off and I couldn't keep that pace. I definitely needed more calories. You'd think after all these years I'd learned, lost contact with them at halfway and held on to third. Hot day. And it's funny, as we share the Strava file here, it measured at exactly 50.00 miles. So shout out. That's an Aravaipa race, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well measured, Jamil and crew. But of course, that's just the entree or the preamble to what is going to be a huge season for you, highlighted especially by Cocodona and Western States. I know you're doing TDS also, but let's at least take those first two races individually and talk about them. Cocodona first. What are the goals? Of course, last time you were on the show, it was in the aftermath, I think, of your 2024 race, which was a bit of a heartbreaker. What did you learn there? What adjustments are you making for 2026 at Cocodona? And maybe you could say a few words too, just like in the spirit of this, like the sport is crazy right now. Like Cocodona is crazy, crazy, not only in terms of the field that they're assembling this year and the live stream that they produce, but in terms of like the cultural impact on the sport. I mean, it feels like a sort of singular event at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely quickly rose to the premier 200 plus mile event in North America.
Yeah.
And where live feed was kind of has been pioneered, like a lot of Jamil's like stuff he's passed on to other races was pioneered at Cocodona. Like how he does it, why they do it, where they need people, how they're using Starlink, all that kind of stuff. But from a race perspective, like the fields are deep now for this distance, and that for me, that's exciting because that's the way it was in 2024. It was deep. It's deep again this year. 250 mile races are like, you just have to run your own race. You can't get caught up. I think one thing we learned last year is like, yes, they are being run more like hundreds, meaning fast transitions at certain places. But it's still a 250 mile race. You can't run the first 100 like a banshee, and expect to like continue. You have to plan for weather so you don't get hypothermia. There's a lot of I saw a lot of mistakes last year I was pacing and crewing Jesse Haynes. And I got to see that front pack and they were going so fast, and it was cooler and you can leverage that a little bit, right? Because it's normally really hot. But I do think you still have to like run within yourself. You have to run your own race, not someone else's race. It's a long way. You're racing in the front of the pack 3 days, 2 nights.
Yeah.
Right? That's a lot of running. And just a lot of time for stupid mistakes. And so patience is really, really the key to that sport. And for me, like I'm just taking all the stuff I've learned from that and the Colorado Trail and just tightening the screws, and fine tuning and my strategy a little different for this one. Like, but I over the weekend I was working on my splits,
Really,
and my spreadsheet. So
of course you heard.
The course changed, again in multiple spots. So just coming up with
Significant changes, or are they kind of minor?
I mean, they got it back down to like 253 versus 257. They just keep having these issues with like the last minute changes last year was all because of the Mexican spotted owl habitat.
Yeah.
And this year they were able to take the course from last year that they had to change because of that and fine tune it. And they've just taken some little cut little, half a mile here, a mile there, by taking a little more direct route to shorten some of the splits to get it back down closer to 250.
Yeah. I mean, if they can measure the 50 miler at 50.00, you think they're eventually, maybe in a couple of years, Cocodona will measure exactly 250.00. But I imagine with
for our money, right?
With a point-to-point,
miles.
Yeah, a point-to-point 250 mile course, I'm sure there's a lot of challenges that they deal with in putting that thing together. It reminds me too, I had Killian Korth on the podcast recently, and he talked about kind of the divergent strategies in 200 plus mile racing. And his thesis is effectively that eventually one of these schools of thought is going to win out. the way that he approaches it, which is like move slow but almost never stop, versus the strategy employed by Jimmy Elam at the Mammoth 200 last year, which was like move faster but stop more and sleep some. Do you have an opinion about that? Like what school of thought is gonna win out, or what you think is best?
After coaching people for so many years, like especially coaching Versteeg and McKnight, both of those guys have trouble sleeping. So like when they lay down, they just stare at the ceiling, they can't fall asleep fast. Whereas I can crash like boom. As long as I manage my caffeine right, when that dose, when I back off and don't dose caffeine, I can sleep. So I think there's two types of runners in that race. The ones that can't sleep and the ones that can, and they have to have, and they're two uniquely different types of athletes, and they have to have different strategies. So for me personally, like those people that don't sleep are going to struggle in the last 100 miles. Right? Whereas I found when I take those naps, I run so much better after the nap, so much faster. Like I make up for that 15-minute, 20-minute nap. Right? So like, but you have to be able to like fall asleep on a dime, right? And turn your brain off from competition. So I think that's probably the biggest struggle that athletes in the front of the pack are going to deal with, is whether they can sleep or not. So I think there's two directions there, that the way I see it as a coach, that you can't force someone who can't sleep into sleeping, but you also can't force the person who can sleep into just like going in on fumes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it depends. That's my answer.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. It reminds me too, I think you posted about going to the screening for the new documentary that I think is on the film tour right now that Aravaipa Mountain Outpost put together, called The Cutoff. Sort of sharing the story of the back of the pack at Cocodona. Oh, check it out. He's rocking the t-shirt on the pod. Love it. And of course you were sort of the kind of one of the stars of the first documentary, The Chase, and this year they're doing a third one, I think documenting the front of the women's race at Cocodona 2026. Any fun stories or any calls to action promotions for The Cutoff itself? Was it a good film?
It was a great film. It's cool to see the back of the pack get highlighted.
Hell yeah.
Like, I mean, just like, one of the things that brought me to this sport in the first place is the community, right? And the vibe, and just like how supportive it is. And just to see, like, there's not very many like elite, where you have an elite field that the elite runners, a lot of them will come back to watch the back of the pack in the golden hour finish. And our sport is unique that way. Yeah. Not every single elite runner is going to show up at the finish line, but a lot of them will. And Cocodona is a very unique one because we all have shared 250 freaking crazy miles, and we like to come out and watch them finish, and you'll see the podium out there hanging out on Saturday morning at 124 hours and change, right? For that last hour. So I think showing that was really cool, and to really highlight those athletes and how, it really hit me. Like, we were talking about how you bringing the 100-mile like pit crew style mentality to 200s. They have to do the same thing, man. Cause sometimes they come in and it's nail biter. It's like they've got the clock ticking on the screen, and it's like 4 minutes before the cutoff, and they just ran into the aid station. It's the middle of the night on night 4, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. They don't even have time to sleep.
Madness. Crazy.
It's crazy. It's really a cool film from a different perspective that we're not used to.
Yeah, and Dylan Harris is made that film. Yeah, cool.
Exactly.
I'll check out I'll try and remember to put a link in the show notes for people to check out where the screenings are going to be. I'm assuming they'll come through most of the prominent trail towns in North America before they release it, probably on YouTube. So stay apprised there. Western States, bro, you're going for finish number 7, I think it is, managing a quick turnaround of about 6 weeks.
Good grief, man. 1, 4, Yeah, I guess.
7. All right. So maybe we're getting closer to that 1,000-mile buckle.
Hard rock if I finish this year.
Managing the turnaround and just goals for Western States. We'll start winding down here soon.
Well, originally, so, I have a sponsor, got me in for 3 years. Last year, this year, next year. And to go after the 50 to 59 record at Western States. Last year, coming off the Colorado Trail, I had some tendonitis stuff that popped up during the race, really slowed me down. I missed the record. I was pretty bummed.
This is Stephen Moore's record, right?
Yeah, Steve Moore's 18. I think it's 1814 or 1816. And I ran like 1912 or something, I just I was pretty bummed. But because my PR is 15:55,
should be a layup.
I've run 17 like 3 times on that course. Yeah. So like I was just like really bummed about it. But then they got me back in. But I'd already like committed to Cocodona as a focus. So this year's more Cocodona as a focus. It's a challenge for me to like, can I leverage my biking skills to recover enough to be ready for Western States? And we'll see. But there's a lot less pressure this year, but next year's the last time.
Yeah.
Like it's my last chance.
So you're going to be 55.
Yeah, and I'm going to be 55. So next year is like the real focus. Like I'm going to focus on Western States.
Yeah.
So the whole spring training will be all geared towards Western States in 2027. But this year it's more like show up and see what happens and have fun. And just not put as much pressure on myself and just go run a good race. And run smart,
Yeah.
And not worry. And I think it was a little bit of a shell shock because I hadn't been back for a while, how the race has progressed in the front. So like just that first like half, I was just like, what? Like it's going, like they're so fast. Like they take off like 30 guys in a giant group in the, like going up the first climb, just hammering.
Yeah.
I was just like, what?
And then the women are right there too. Like behind the men's lead pack. Yeah.
And so like just that alone was kind of eye-opening. And I think it was almost like a little bit of like shell shock in the first like 60K. I was just shaking my head while I was running. I was like, I'm like, no one's around me. Like the women's lead pack and the men's lead pack were in front of me. I was like, what? And I'm running faster and my splits were like dead on for like a low 16 in the early miles before the tendonitis thing popped up.
Yeah.
So I was like, I've run this pace before and I'm like, I'm right on my splits and I'm not even in like, I don't know, I might have probably was in like 40th.
It was like the student becomes the teacher when the youth have the great Jeff Browning on his heels going up the escarpment. The game has changed a little bit, don't you?
It was crazy.
Well, that's awesome, man. And good luck. I mean, that Steve Moore's record is very, very solid. Shout out to him. He's a great guy too. Somebody who I've collided with many times in and around Hard Rock usually. And speaking of the photo of your right shoulder, somebody who I know has volunteered alongside Rock Horton at Kroger's Canteen a bunch of times. A great runner his own right from Texas.
Yeah, he is a great runner. And he really, you realize too, once you get in your 50s, that like having that day is like a special thing.
Yeah.
And, it wasn't lost on me last year where it was like, I've always been pretty consistent in hundreds, I've got 55 finishes. So like, it's like, I kind of pride myself on being consistent in that distance. Yeah. And last year was just one of those where it's like shaking my head going, they aren't always consistent, And so like, it was a humbling experience as well last year.
Yeah. Well, that's what's great about the sport. You're always learning, right? And just when you think you got it figured out, the trail convinces you otherwise.
Exactly.
You're going to do TDS at the end of the summer. Anything you want to say about that before we wind down?
Well, I always said after I finished UTMB, we were there the same year in 17 when that was that crazy fast year. It was like an anomaly year as far as speed. I ran a solid time there and I got like 20th or something, I ran like a 22:50 something.
Yeah.
But I always said if I came back to UTMB, I would do TDS. That was always just like, I don't want to do UTMB again. If I'm going to travel all the way back here, I'd rather do TDS. It's kind of cool because you start Monday at like almost midnight and you're done, you're done early in the week. And then you're there to hang out for the festivities.
Dude, it's great. Yeah, so good. All right, so I'm already thinking after TDS, you got to come in studio with us and share some of your perspective about the other races as they unfold. So
yeah, that would be cool.
Book in your calendar already. Yeah, we've got a great studio right in the middle of town, so we'll pull you in.
That would be so fun. I'd love to do that.
All right, great.
Like that.
All right, cool. I'll send you a calendar invite. Well, that's cool. Yeah, and it's at this point it is basically a 100-mile race, so it fits with the brand, the Giddy Up brand of Jeff Browning, being a 100-mile specialist and so great for such a long time. So I'm sure people will look forward to following Cocodona, Western States, and TDS here in the coming months. Maybe we could close, Jeff, by just coming back to what you were saying earlier, allow you to share a little bit about the coaching business. You were talking about how Cam Hanes and how he set his operation up has sort of inspired you. You also mentioned that now you have other coaches working underneath you. So the brand, the business is growing. What can you share with the audience about like how you are shaping this thing as, a way to continue to impact the sport and people within it?
Well, I fortunately had other coaches under me for a few years now. And one of the things that I've been, kind of like full, my roster's been full for like 3 seasons. And so I have a wait list, active wait list, and one person off, one person on, type of thing. But I'm looking forward to kind of this next step in evolution of what Giddy Up Ultra is. That coaching business started as just me. When I launched coaches, I went from Go Bronco Billy, kind of like Jeff Browning, to being Giddy Up Ultra. I really kind of rebranded the business. And then I wanted it to be bigger than me. I wanted to be more community. We're building stuff behind the scenes with our roster where we're this year we're launching a social piece that's behind a username password for our paying subscribing athletes. I run a group coaching call every 3 weeks for the entire roster so I do a lesson and then Q&A for an hour.
Oh, cool.
So I'm doing that. I'm also I'm working on some merchandise. I'm being a graphic designer. It's a natural evolution. I'm going to race in my own apparel.
Sick.
So I've got some running shorts and jerseys coming in cool, like, tier 1 Italian fabrics.
Dude, we got to talk because I'm starting to think about my hard rock kit and I want to be rocking Free Trail Signpost logos on it. And I need help sourcing.
I got a good vendor for you.
Okay, great.
We can talk relationships. It's a company out of Europe, that works with Spain and Italy and Spain for fabrics, but own their own factory in Asia. They can do sublimation, screen printing, all that stuff in-house, one-stop shop. So I'm going to be coming out with my own Giddy Up gear, and I'm going to race in it. So that's in progress right now. I don't know if I'll have it. We're trying to get it by Cocodona. It may not be till Western States, but for me, like I've always been super. Like I miss the design process sometimes of like creating logos were one of my favorite things to do, and poster designs and stuff like that. Just those one-up pieces that are like an art piece.
Yeah.
And so I've been like, after I left Cam's, because he sent me with a bunch of gear, right? Home, like a goodie bag. And I was looking at his gear and I'm like, dude, like I'm a designer, man. Like I'm going to come up. So I already designed 3 designs since last month. Like I just sat down on the weekends and was drinking a hard kombucha at my desk and jamming some blues and coming up with some gear designs. So I want graphics, it's going to be graphics on the front.
Yeah.
I'm going to do prints in the shorts.
Dope.
So my own custom stuff.
All right.
I think that's what I'm really stoked about. That was inspiring from Cam. And that's one of the things that's come out of that.
All right. Well, I hope it's available for purchase to the public too. So
We're working on a store at giddyupultra.com. So We'll add a shop when that launches. There'll be limited runs at first because I want to see like what people want. So I'm doing limited runs of all the pieces. So it'll be limited stuff, limited designs, and then it'll come back if stuff like really specific pieces really sell. I'll run more.
Amazing. Well, yeah, hook me up with that vendor, and we can be matching though with different logos. Jeff, dude, I know we're up against a hard stop here, man. I could talk to you forever. It's so fun whenever we connect for these conversations. You're just the man. You've been such a big inspiration to me in my career. And I just love the fact that you're still in the game, still loving it, signing a big new contract with a new partnership with Keen. And I appreciate you coming on the show to talk about it.
Yeah, giddy up.
Giddy up.